What do you do in Vietnam?
Ở đây mình là YouTuber. Oh my god. The Iqoo 5 and Iqoo 5 Pro recently launched in China. And these devices are so good for so inexpensive, it's got me thinking that there must be a catch. Today we're out in one of the many lovely parks here in Hanoi by my house. We've got what looks like an upcoming rainstorm, maybe, possibly. But I wanted to put a video out talking about the Iqoo 5 and Iqoo 5 Pro. So before we go into specifics about these devices, I want to talk a little bit about the Iqoo brand and Iqoo as a company in general. So those of you that like Oppo phones or Vivo phones or OnePlus phones, those are all owned by the same brand. Iqoo, Vivo, Iqoo, Vivo, Oppo, OnePlus, and Realme. These are all owned under the BBK, I guess, conglomerate of devices. What the heck is this guy? Is this guy trying to take a piss right now? What the? I guess he's taking a... In Vietnam, you can essentially urinate everywhere without consequence. But all of these phones under the BBK brand, they all share similar technology, similar components, and ultimately, it's kind of in a lot of ways, what? This is like the Femi Palm. What? No. This is essentially a big conglomerate brand. All of these devices are very similar components. Let's talk about that. First, let's go over the specs of the Iqoo 5 and the Iqoo 5 Pro. The devices are both 198 grams, 6.56 inch full HD AMOLED display with 120 hertz refresh rate.
Wow!
120 hertz on a Super AMOLED display, in-display fingerprint scanner, punch hole cameras. Apparently the display on both of these devices is an upgrade over the previous models, as they have a maximum brightness of 1300 nits, which makes them HDR10 plus compatible. They both have a punch hole camera, which in many ways would lead me to believe, Chao Chu? Xin lỗi báo gì?
What do you do in Vietnam?
Ở đây mình là YouTuber.
Tourist.
Quay phim cho YouTube. Không, một nói trên video của em vì em quay phim về công nghệ, công nghệ không đắt. Đúng rồi. Come on, yeah? That's one of the things I love about living here. I should probably keep that in the video. Full HD 120 hertz AMOLED display, in-display fingerprint scanner, Snapdragon 865. Not the Snapdragon 865 Plus. Again, we're getting marginal performance benefits, maybe 10 to 12% because of the clock speed of these devices, but that's going to be at the expense of battery life. Now, both of these devices are going to come with 8 and 12 gigabytes of LP DDR5 RAM and UFS 3.1 storage, which is the same exact specs I have on this device, which means that they are the fastest internal components that you can currently get on a device right now. So if you're gaming, or if you're wanting to get the maximum performance in your pocket, then both of these devices should fit the bill. The next component that you guys should hear about is the charging speed, because this is a truly headlining feature. The Iqoo 5 Pro features the 120 watt Super VOOC charging. Now, if you want an... I just stepped in water. If you guys want to know about the SuperVOOC charging, essentially it splits the battery into 3 cells. The proprietary cables that you have to use have 3 separate power, like sub cables that to deliver power into the 3 separate cells at a higher amperage, and they does it all in the charger of the device, not in the phone. So it keeps the heat generated from that on the charger, not the device. That's why they're able to achieve such fast charging speeds. The Iqoo 5 Non-Pro is going to feature a 50-watt SuperVOOC charging, or it's the same technology as SuperVOOC. That's essentially what it is, which splits it into the higher amperage for the 2 separate cells. Now, all of this is like, what's the catch? Because these devices are launching at like, the Iqoo 5 is launching at sub $600, which then leads you to believe, what's the catch? Well, the catch is the camera. The first one is a 48 or 50 megapixel Samsung ISOCELL sensor. It's the new mid-range Samsung sensor. It's a larger sensor. It's a large sensor, but the actual hardware itself, we haven't seen many devices equipped with it, so it's difficult to say. The Iqoo 5 Pro features an 8 megapixel periscope zoom for a 60x zoom capabilities, whereas the Iqoo 5 is a 13 megapixel ultra wide, just like the Iqoo 5 Pro, and then it has a depth sensor. So on one of these devices, you're getting a mid-range Samsung sensor and a ultra wide with a depth sensor. On the other one, you're getting a periscope telephoto camera with an ultra wide and another the same Samsung sensor. Now, this has me thinking, what is the catch? What is the catch? Because the specs on these devices are top notch, screens are top notch. Knowing BBK, this is probably the same screen that we have in the Oppo Reno, whatever the newest Oppo flagship is, and it's probably the same exact screen that we have in the OnePlus 8 Pro. So what is the catch for this? What is the place that this is falling apart? We have to talk about this, because if we talk about profitability in Apple made $18 billion last year just from taking their cut off of developers' apps in the Play Store. So if a developer sells an app in the Play Store, Apple takes a cut of that. So what is Iqoo doing to recoup some of this profit? Or where are they cutting a corner for some of this? Because obviously there is a need for profitability. R&D for this is pretty low. They already have devices that feature these same sets of components. We know that the camera is going to be a compromise, because the camera on this device is a Samsung sensor, and those are less expensive than the said Sony sensors. So there is something that's being skipped here. There's some way that they are not having to spend money on, and I think we both know where it's going to be. A lot of people are angry that recently OnePlus has begun to move away from the appearance of stock Android on their devices and moving what looks like a lot more towards their Color OS or the Samsung One UI. And let's face it, Color OS is seen as one of the more bottom tier Android skins on the market. Some people like it, some people don't. It's not that it's necessarily a bad skin. It's just something that not a ton of people love. I know nothing about Vivo's Android skin, other than it's probably going to be based pretty close to the color OS that Oppo has, or that Realme has, or the Realme UI. A lot of the underlying code, I'm gonna guess, is pretty similar between the two of them. So there's gonna be a catch. Now, another thing that we have to consider, these are really powerful devices. And this means that these devices will be able to power apps. Oh my God, there's puppies. Oh my God, there's pug puppies. Oh my God, oh my God. Kundang yo? Oh, oi rồi, oi. Oh, rất đẹp. Ôi rồi ôi. And tạm biệt nhé. The question is whether or not Oppo, Vivo, BBK in general is going to support these devices in the long run. We already know that there isn't necessarily the biggest incentive to do so, but as it is part of what people consider to be like long-term value for a device is how long it receives Android upgrades. So if these devices are something that you guys want, do you worry about long-term device support? Do you worry about Android updates? Is there a big developer community for these? I don't know. I think that these are really cool, really interesting devices. I'm glad that they're launching to compete with the Xiaomi blackshark line of devices. I think this stuff, in many ways, is leading us to phones becoming more and more specialized. But again, long-term device support. What do you guys think?